You hear about it, and I still find it bizarre that it happens, but there are people out there that can hold two contradicting opinions at once. And it's actually quite common to the point where it's bewildering to see these individuals in the real world. And I genuinely just do not understand it. And sometimes I wonder if I happen to have like two contradicting opinions. Like, here is the best example. You got a fictional game, Genshin Impact. And right now you have a lot of people on Twitter, including voice actors, that are trying to boycott the game over the dumbest thing is the skin color. Like, the personality of the character doesn't matter, the design of the character doesn't matter. Like, these people are so hyper focused on literally the pigmentation. And these are the anti-racists, right? It makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. Like everything is a contradiction. And then it's the same people, like sometimes the exact same account name, which point out that Assassin's Creed is just a game, so you shouldn't care about the historical representation. And when you try to understand how these individuals operate, when you try to talk with them, they usually perform a lot of gymnastics and mental loopholes. The way it works is that when you first provide them with the contradiction, they generally do not know how to respond. Like they're mind fucked about it, or they just try to dismiss it. But then, like, some influencer, like a Vosh or Destiny, tries to explain and rationalize the contradiction. So then they take the talking points and they use them word for word. Like, for instance, when Matt Walsh asked them what is a woman, they were completely mindfucked. They were very angry. They just didn't want to engage in the conversation anymore because the update wasn't there. They genuinely didn't know how to explain away the contradiction. Until you have, like, some talking heads like Vosh and other influencers that try to explain away in somewhat like how you can answer like what a woman is, and they will say, well, historically this is what things were, and now like the heteronormative culture is ingrained into that. So like they have like this bizarre explanation, but now some of them at least can rationalize what is a woman. But when it comes to this shit, when it comes to skin color and whitewashing, they will rationalize based on historical injustices. Like, I'm not even kidding, okay? Like, this is the mental deficiency that they go through. And they say that because of historical injustices, like, I'm not even kidding, right? Like, a private company making a movie is what they consider a historic injustice. And because, like, Hollywood, I don't even know if they can rationalize the fact that some of the directors that did this in the past, if you look at Wikipedia, you see very interesting details about their early life, but it doesn't matter, right? So, like, Hollywood used to take old stories like Aladdin, right? And they would cast a white guy rather than casting the correct heritage, rather than making sure that the actor has the correct pedigree. And because of that, a historic injustice was committed. Like, the ancestors of Americans that lived then had to suffer greatly because of what Hollywood, the private company, was doing. There's a lot of mysticism and spirituality involved if you actually read the academic papers, which is bizarre because it's a Marxist ideology. But anyway, right, like they conclude that by casting a character with the wrong skin color causes injustice. Now, in order to fix that injustice, you don't have a time machine, obviously. So you need to recreate the injustice today, but on the opposite end of the scale. So in other words, if you take white characters and you make them black, you create the injustice now, but it is on purpose because doing it long enough and having like enough people quote unquote suffering today is going to make the ancestors who suffered in the past feel a sort of retribution, feel a sort of reparation, if you will, right? So again, just to summarize, I know this is so dumb when you say it out loud, but when you read the academic papers, it's covered in a lot of jargon and it's covered in a lot of fancy words. But the bare bones of it, like what they're actually trying to explain, this is literally it, right? Like when you take a story, which is what they consider cultural appropriation, right? So like if you take a story that's not made by a white person and you make it into a movie and you don't cast the actual genetical makeup of every single character to make it accurate, you are hurting people. Like you are hurting society. And because society was hurt in the past, they need to recreate that pain in the present, but to hurt the group of people that did it in the past. And only this way, by doing it long enough, they will have reconciliation. It's complete maddening, right? But like, this is the explanation they go with. Obviously, the foot soldiers on Twitter, they simplify it, and they will say something like, "Well, it's fine because you guys did it in the past." Again, like, I didn't live in the past, but that's how they say it. It's like, you guys did it in the past, so now it has to be done in the present to balance it out. But like, this explanation fails when you're going after a Chinese video game. Like, what the fuck does China have to do with it? They don't have Hollywood. They didn't do this shit in the past. They probably didn't even care about racial American politics at the time at all. So you're applying the same logic now to a Chinese company, which doesn't make sense. But you are defending another company, which is why doing the same thing to Japanese people, even when they get upset, right? So you have like the double thing, which again, it's happening because they didn't get the firmware update. Like, they didn't get the new patch notes on how to handle this shit. So they genuinely do not know. So now you have the same publications talking about how evil what Genshin Impact is doing because they're race swapping and they don't have the correct skin colors, while at the same time praising Ubisoft for what it is doing, right? So they don't know how to rationalize this away, and it short circuits. Now, luckily, they don't have to rationalize it away because most comment sections are disabled. Most people that are pressured to this will just go in a blocking spree. But here we are, and this is modern politics. This is normal, by the way. Like, this is, and you know, like, it even makes me wonder, like, do I have certain ideas that contradict each other, but I would firmly hold them, and I hope I don't. I do know that if someone pressured me on them, I would at least try to rationalize them to some degree, so that I don't have to block people and hide in shame. But this is the reality. This is the gaming 2024, and it's very sad to see it. And of course, what's even worse than this is when you realize that the voice actors, which are one step away from being replaced with AI, are also boycotting the game because of this absolute nonsense. Complete nonsense. And again, if you care about this, you're racist. But if you care about this, you're progressive. It is so obvious what they are doing. It is so obvious just how racist their ideology is. And how they actually do not care about the quality of video games at all. Which is why most AAA games right now are going on apology tours. Like, yeah, we know you paid $120 to play our game 3 days earlier. But, yeah, we're sorry, the beta is unstable. We're so sorry. Oh yeah, we know that you paid full price, but you gotta wait for the day 1 patch because our game is broken. We're so sorry. Like, this is non-stop. This is constant with AAA right now. And the reason is that they do not care about the product itself. This is what they care about. This is the actual product, and the game is just something secondary as window dressing. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, of course, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.